Technology Foundation and Ascari Group to the jade and energy sectors, and protecting these billion-dollar assets often becomes more important than serving the public good. These institutions often act in their own interest, prioritizing institutional survival, profit, and control over public service and democratic governance. Unless there is deep structural reform, clarity in constitutional roles, and genuine civilian supremacy, such establishments will continue to act against the very people they claim to protect. One major reason for this unseemly behavior is the military's belief in its own superiority over civilian leadership, seeing themselves as the ultimate guardians of national integrity. Military establishments often undermine democratically elected leaders, especially when those leaders appear to challenge military authority. In Pakistan, for instance, this mindset has led to repeated military coups and the removal of leaders like Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif. But sadly, that's not always the case. In many countries around the world, particularly states like Pakistan, Myanmar, Iran, strategic partnerships, especially with global powers like the United States, have resulted in military aid being funneled into these institutions, reinforcing their autonomy and reducing pressure for democratic reform. Pakistan, for example, received over $33 billion in aid from the U.S. between 2002 and 2018, most of it benefiting the military. With this external support, the deep state often uses national security narratives to justify repression, labeling journalists, activists, or political opponents as threats or foreign agents to silence dissent. Figures like Hamid Mir and Masin Dawar have faced severe backlash under such pretenses. Much of this behavior can be traced back to colonial legacies. Foreign alliances have also incentivized anti-democratic behavior. To maintain control, these institutions deliberately weaken civilian power structures. The institutional culture in these organizations also suppresses innovation, dissent, and participatory governance. Divide and rule tactics further help consolidate power, fueling ethnic and sectarian divisions to weaken opposition and justify repression. Ultimately, what emerges is a system where unelected power centers, the military, intelligence agencies, and senior bureaucracy, wield de facto control.